What? Happy Father's Day. You shouldn't have. Thank you so much. Let's see what we have here. I forgot all about Happy Father's Day. Thank you. We've got a tie. We have an undershirt. And we have, well, we have some nice gifts. Thank you very much. So what was that? A tie, an undershirt, and some other stuff. If that's what you're thinking about purchasing for your special guy on Father's Day, no, don't do it. If he keeps reptiles, I've got some special gifts that you can get for him that he'll absolutely love. What's great about these gifts are every one of them is around about $25 or less. And your guy is going to love each and every one of these because he can use them. Let's take a look. I've ranked these gifts from number 4 all the way to number 1 according to how I would appreciate these gifts. So let's start with number 4. For each gift, I'm going to go ahead and add a picture of where I found this item for a reasonable price. Number 4 on our list is a scale. I use a scale almost every single day in our facility. My number 1 purpose of using a scale is to make sure that the geckos that we keep are all healthy. We can record the weights from week to week, and with those weights we can measure whether the gecko is gaining or losing weight. Another key reason why we use a scale is to make sure that the gecko's weight, especially for leopards and crested geckos, is where it should be for them to start breeding. Many times on social media, I'll see a post of somebody asking if their gecko is the right weight, and if you don't have a scale to measure that weight, you're really not going to get a good response from everybody on social media to let you know if that is a healthy gecko or not. For me, number 3 has to be a good gecko book. There's a lot of great gecko books out there. And again, I'm going to put some pictures in the video of some of the books that I would recommend for somebody starting with geckos. Whether he's just starting out with this hobby or has kept geckos for some time, there's nothing better than a good book on geckos. My number 2 gift is a sprayer. And there's so many different ones out there that you can buy that are very reasonably priced, but you can't go wrong with a nice pump sprayer. We use these sprayers all over for our geckos. We spray down the enclosure, we fill up water dishes. I even use them in our isopod enclosures. We used to use the little dollar store hand sprayers that you would find, and believe me, it's not worth the price even at $1. Go out and spend about $10 for one of these, and this sprayer will last years and years. And before we get to that number 1 gift that you can get for Dad, here's a couple of additional bonus gifts that you can get for him. One of the greatest experiences I've had with my kids is going to a reptile show. Not just to see all of the animals, but also to talk to the reptile breeders and get some information, some behind the scenes information on some of these animals. It's always been a great way for me to relate to my family what animals mean in our life. There's literally a reptile show every weekend throughout the year. Prices are usually very reasonable, and it's just such a great time. So go ahead and plan to take Dad to a reptile show. My next bonus item is look around in your area for a herp society that you can join. Usually you can go and attend that first meeting or even 2 for free until you get a feel for what the society is all about. There's always great activities at these herp society meetings. A lot of them have programs especially designed for younger people. It's a great way to share information about animals, and usually you have a main speaker that you really get a ton of information from. Once you feel comfortable with that herp society, go ahead and grab a membership and you'll be happy you did. And now that number 1 gift that you can get for Dad on Father's Day at a reasonable price. If you keep 1 animal or 100 animals, I think the number 1 thing that you can have that will benefit the health of your animals is a temp gun. Even if your animal doesn't require heat, a temp gun is essential to know the temperature of the enclosure to make sure that it's not too cold or especially not too hot. If your animal or animals do require heat, a temp gun is essential to make sure that that heat that you're providing is in the right range. I know a lot of people use A stick-on thermometer or a little temperature gauge that's around $10, $8 to $10, that little temperature gauge does not give you the right temperature that your animal is sitting at. If you keep an animal such as a leopard gecko that needs a very specific temperature range for their warm spot, about 20 to 25% of the enclosure, between 90 degrees and 96 degrees, let's say, it's very important to know exactly what that temperature is in that hot spot. With a temperature gun, you can point, click, and get the reading instantaneously. Again, if you have any issues with your animals whatsoever and you go on social media, the very first thing that they'll ask is, what's the temperature of the enclosure that you're keeping that animal in? And without an exact temperature, you're really not going to get a great response from the social media people. What's cool about these temperature guns is Dad can also use it for other purposes around the house as well. These temperature guns can either be found at home improvement stores or auto parts stores locally to you at a very, very reasonable price. I know when I started out in this hobby about 15 years ago, these were about $100 a piece, and now they're down into the 20s, low 30s. There you have it, 6 gifts that you can give Dad for Father's Day that he'll really, really, really appreciate more than ties or undershirts or other stuff. So as Father's Day is quickly approaching, get online, get in the car, and go find Dad one of those gifts that he'll really, really appreciate. Thanks for tuning in.